I love having you on because I love talking about the old hometown New York City and mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani, or as I like to call him, Mamdani the Commie. He was on The View this week, and he clapped back at the president's claim that he is a communist. So let's see how he fared.
He's attacking you as a communist. Are you?
No, I'm a democratic socialist. That means I believe in dignity for all people.
You're not a communist. I agree with that.
No, I'm not a communist. And I think, a lot of New Yorkers have asked me, what does it mean that you're a democratic socialist?
Yeah.
And I tell them to think about the words of Dr. King from decades ago. He said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. There has to be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And that's the heart of it.
Okay, he's rooting for your opponent, Andrew Cuomo. Why do you think that is?
He is looking to clear the field for Andrew Cuomo because he knows that Andrew Cuomo would clear the field for Trump's agenda. We're speaking about a former governor who, when he looked at the deployment of the National Guard in California, told New Yorkers, don't overreact. This is a moment where we have to address the administration for what it is, which is authoritarian.
Kelly, Jane, Torrance, give me a little bit of hope here that just maybe Zohran Mamdani going on The View means that he's not actually campaigning in the city. And just maybe, I can't even believe I'm going to say this, maybe, God help us, Andrew Cuomo winds up winning. And I never thought I'd be in the camp of rooting for Andrew Cuomo.
James, I can tell you a lot of New Yorkers are in that position right now. I talk to people almost daily who say they can't believe they're going to have to hold their nose and vote for Andrew Cuomo. But that's because Zohran Mamdani is dangerous. And it's quite funny that he denies being a communist. He famously said just a few years ago that he believes government should seize the means of production. I mean, that sounds pretty communist to me. I think Marx and Engels would agree. And in fact, PolitiFact did a fact check. Now, was that communist and him saying that? And they said it was false because though it's associated with communist, Zohran didn't go on to explain exactly what he meant by it. Which, I think we all know what it means when you say that government should seize the means of production.
Yeah. Now, I mean, in the meantime, since we've last spoken, Eric Adams has dropped out of the race, which I think is a real shame because for all of his slightly odd behaviors, let's just put it that way, he was not a bad mayor. I don't think he was. And we've got Andrew Cuomo now. Some New York Republicans, I find this bizarre, are urging an investigation into whether he violated federal safety guidance by sending COVID-infected patients released from hospitals back into nursing homes in 2020. Now, that was a terrible time, and what he did was a terrible thing. But why are they pushing this issue now if it's only going to lead potentially to this Mamdani administration?
Yeah, I worry, James, that some Republicans have the idea, well, let's just burn it all down. Okay, let's let New York have a democratic socialist mayor. It'll ruin the city, but hey, it'll be great for Republicans, maybe even great for Republicans in the midterms. To them, I say, well, you don't live here. It's not going to be great for New York. It's not going to be great for New Yorkers. As a single woman who, often gets home from work late at night, I worry about my own safety if crime increases, which it invariably would under Zohran Mamdani. Obviously, what Andrew Cuomo did was terrible, and he really should have some accountability for it. He's finally by the way, just apologized to Jewish New Yorkers for outlawing large gatherings, including religious ones, during the pandemic. But this is, did he follow or was he against federal guidelines? I mean, the guy might have lied to Congress. There's already an investigation into that. Following federal guidelines is not, whether he did or not, it's not the least of Andrew Cuomo's sins. That's for sure. And the timing does look very suspect.
Well, yeah, look, it does look suspect. And I think you're absolutely right. I think we need to make this point about New York because what's bad for New York is ultimately bad for the United States because it is the big engine of commerce and culture and so much else. So, yeah, that whole, go to hell New York attitude, I think it's probably dangerous. But other things happening in New York, too. Well, we had the big UN General Assembly meeting the other week. And I want to talk about this great piece you wrote in the New York Post about the fecklessness of the UN, particularly with the Iranian president being photographed with UN Chief Antonio Guterres. Now, the president called out so many of the faults of the United Nations, but, this seems to be really where we see the full corruption of what this organization is about.
Yeah, James, I have to say, the response to President Trump's speech, among the elites was shocked that he would actually criticize the United Nations. He asked what the purpose of
God
it was.
forbid,
and noted
I know.
It doesn't seem to be doing much good, right?
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your kind words on my piece. When I met, during the United Nations General Assembly, I met with a lot of contacts and friends who are of Iranian background. They fled the country. They were, quite upset that this man is standing on the UN stage claiming to be a representative of the people and simply lying. And, again, proving the fecklessness of the UN. He was given a platform, as I called it in the article, kind of a hangman's platform to lie. And just the day before his speech, a non-governmental organization released the news that there have been at least 1,000 executions in Iran so far this year. That's a 30-year high. But the New York Times still called this president a moderate in describing his speech, in which he lied and claimed that Iran has never tried to get a nuclear weapon, and that Iran wants to end bloodshed in its region and around the world, which is certainly a news to the 1,000 people that he's killed already this year.
Yeah, it is just shocking, and the moral bankruptcy of the UN. I mean, good on Donald Trump again for delivering that absolute haymaker of a speech. Hey, finally, just before I let you go, I want to just finish on some great bit of, journalistic karma about somebody called Cheyenne Daniels. And in 2020, she was studying journalism at Northwestern University, talking about Donald Trump when he came to power and when he lost power, about the threat to her life as a black woman and the purity of white power that Donald Trump represents. Well, I want to bring this up because Cheyenne Daniels is now a reporter for Politico. How does Politico wind up hiring somebody, supposedly at a neutral publication, who is talking about all sorts of stuff and being tearful when Donald Trump won and all of that? How are we supposed to take this stuff seriously?
Great question, James. And she's been reporting on Donald Trump. It's not like she's just working there on some other beat. She is definitely on the White House beat. And you kind of wonder about their judgment. And, I hired a dozen reporters last year when I was overseeing our swing state election coverage at the Post.
I remember. And
I looked at social media. Of people that I was hiring because I wanted people with good judgment. For such an important job. And did Politico do any vetting of this person? And it is kind of hilarious that, she cried when Donald Trump won in 2016, but in 2020 she was crying too, but this time tears of joy at Biden winning. It's just, this person is not going to be treating Donald Trump or his administration fairly. And, honestly, just reading her comments, it's like a parody of the liberal reporter crying liberal tears that, collecting in a coffee cup just made for conservatives. So it's pretty crazy, and it's amazing. But, Politico, has had reporters who had, who were having affairs with people, in the previous administration, and, all kinds of stuff. So you really do have to wonder. There's certainly no dearth of people in this country who can write at least to Politico standards.
Well, which are not all that high, let's be honest about it. And you know what? I think if you're crying about elections one way or the other, maybe you've got other problems. Kelly Jane Torrance, thank you so much for joining me. Everybody read her stuff at the New York Post. Now, stick around. I've got one here, though, before we go to a break. One for all the cat people out there. Whatever you think of those Hakeem memes we talked about earlier, well, the Democrats have tried to go down their own social media path. Have a look at this video they've put out about the government shutdown, which has been described by some people as the cringiest thing to hit politics since the Kamala Harris campaign. Have a look.
Republican and Democrat kiddies cannot agree on what should be funded. Democrat kiddies want you to have health care. Republican kiddies do not. Republican kiddies control the Senate, House, and the White House, so they're using that to cut your health care and give money to billionaires. Democrat kitty tries to negotiate, but Republican kitty keeps running away. He has a vacation to get to. Uh-oh, suddenly the money you pay for your health insurance has tripled. Thanks, Republicans.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. It may be catnip for the Democratic base, but I don't think it scratches the surface of the problem.